My name is Arthur Finch. I am 54 years old, and for 30 of those years I defined myself by one title: Dad. It was the only crown I ever wanted. My daughter, Chloe, she was my entire universe. After her mother passed away when she was just 7, it was just the two of us against the world. I was a structural engineer. I'd build bridges, skyscrapers, things meant to last centuries. But the only structure that ever truly mattered to me was the life I was building for her. I worked long hours, yes, but I was there for every school play, every science fair, every tear and every triumph. I remember teaching her to drive in that beat-up old Honda, her white-knuckling the wheel, me trying so hard not to stomp on an imaginary brake. I remember the night she got into Stanford. We ordered Chinese food, and we cried together, sitting on the floor of our modest suburban living room in Oak Creek, Illinois. It wasn't a life of luxury, but it was built on a foundation of love, or so I thought. You see, when you're a single parent, your child becomes your partner in crime, your confidant. Chloe knew everything about me. She knew I hated the sound of people chewing. She knew my secret fear of deep water. She knew that the smell of lavender reminded me of her mother. I thought I knew everything about her, too. The center of our world began to shift when she met Julian. He was 28, 5 years her senior, with the slicked back hair and the smug confidence of a wolf who never missed a meal. He was a venture capitalist, or so he said. To me, he was just a man who wore shoes that cost more than my first car and talked about disrupting markets, without ever seeming to actually do anything. But Chloe looked at him like he'd hung the moon. She said he was ambitious. I thought he was just arrogant. And then, there was Diana. Diana was my partner. We'd been together for 3 years. A widow herself, she was elegant, sophisticated. She was 50, with a sharp mind and a seemingly warmer heart. She worked as a curator at a small art gallery downtown. She'd slip into my life, filling the silences my daughter had left when she moved out. She'd cook meals, laugh at my bad jokes, and tell me I worked too hard. She felt like a port in the long, quiet storm of my middle age. She and Chloe had a civil relationship. They'd exchange pleasantries, birthday gifts, but there was a chill there I could never quite warm. I chalked it up to the natural difficulty of a child accepting a new person in their parents' life. I was a fool. The plan was a milestone. For my 50th birthday, I'd promised myself and Chloe a trip, not just any trip. 2 weeks in Hawaii. We'd talked about it since she was a girl, watching travel documentaries. It was our dream. I'd been scrimping and saving for 4 years, funneling every bonus, cutting every corner. This wasn't just a vacation. It was a pilgrimage. It was the culmination of a lifetime of love and sacrifice. I booked it all. First-class tickets, because my little girl deserved to feel like a queen. A luxury beachfront villa on Maui. A private catamaran tour. The whole works. The cost was significant. It was the single largest expenditure of my life, outside of buying my house. But seeing the look on her face when I presented her with the itinerary in a little handmade booklet, it was worth every single penny. Then, 3 days before we were set to leave, she called. Her voice was a torrent of panicked tears. Dad, I'm so sorry. It's a catastrophe. My portfolio. The one for my master's application. It's been corrupted. The professor said if I don't completely redo it and present a full defense by the end of next week, I'll lose my funding. I'll have to drop out. Hawaii is cancelled. I'm so sorry. My heart sank. Not for the trip. The trip was just a trip. But for her. For her dream. Don't you worry, sweetheart, I said, my voice thick with a father's concern. Your future comes first. We can go to Hawaii anytime. The words felt hollow. This trip was our sometime. I offered to help. To bring her food, to be her sounding board. She refused. I just need to lock myself in the studio, Dad. No distractions. I'll probably turn my phone off for a few days. Don't worry if you can't reach me. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my Chloe. My honest, hard-working Chloe. Diana was wonderfully supportive. She held me, made me tea, told me what a wonderful father I was to be so understanding. The trip will happen, Arthur, she said, her hand resting gently on my arm. It's just postponed. She suggested we use the time for ourselves. A quiet weekend. It was a sweet thought. But my heart wasn't in it. My heart was with my daughter, stressed and alone in her art studio. The days passed. Silence from Chloe. I tried not to worry. I threw myself into work, designing the support structures for a new downtown high-rise. There's a clarity in mathematics, in physics, Forces, loads, tensions. Everything has a logical reaction. Unlike people. It was a Tuesday evening, 4 days after our trip was supposed to begin. I was sitting in my home office, the blueprints for the high-rise spread across my desk. Diana was in the living room, watching some reality show. On a whim, a lonely father's whim, I opened Instagram. I never really understood it, but I'd made an account years ago just to follow Chloe, to see her art. Her profile was private. A new development, I thought. Probably because of the portfolio stress. But then I saw it. A tag. Julian's profile was public. And there, in his tag photos, was a picture that stopped my heart. It was a sunset. A brilliant, fiery Hawaiian sunset over a familiar-looking bay. The caption read, "Paradise with my 2 favorite girls. #Maui #bless." My thumb, trembling, tapped the photo. It expanded. And the world, my world, the entire structure of my life, crumbled into dust. There they were. On a lanai, drinks in hand. Julian, shirtless and grinning. Diana, in a stylish sun hat, smiling that elegant smile. And Chloe, my daughter, her head thrown back in laughter, tanned and looking utterly carefree. The villa in the background was unmistakable. My villa. The one I'd paid for. The betrayal wasn't a single stab. It was 1,000 cuts, each more precise and cruel than the last. They had used my money. They had used my dream. They had lied to my face with tears in their eyes. My daughter. The woman I loved. And the man I despised. I felt a physical pain, a tightness in my chest that made it hard to breathe. The room seemed to tilt. I clicked through more of Julian's photos. There was Chloe, on the catamaran I'd booked. There was Diana, wearing a necklace I'd bought her, sitting at a beachfront restaurant I'd researched for months. They were living my life. They had erased me from my own story. I didn't make a sound. I didn't cry out. The initial shock was so profound, it was immediately flash-frozen by a cold, terrifying calm. An engineer's calm. I looked at the problem. The structure had failed. Not due to outside forces, but due to a critical flaw in its core components. The foundation was rotten. It needed to be demolished. Carefully. Methodically. And I was the only one who could design the implosion. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new unreleased stories here every day. Each one more intense than the last. The planning stage began that night. The hurt was still there, a black hole in my gut, but I channeled all its gravitational pull into a single, focused purpose: revenge. This wouldn't be a messy, emotional outburst. That's what they would expect. This would be a demolition. And as an engineer, I know you don't knock down a building with a wrecking ball. You study its weaknesses. You place precisely calculated charges at its key structural points. And then, you press the button, and you watch it collapse in on itself, neatly, efficiently. My first move was intelligence gathering. I became a ghost in their machine. I used the password Chloe had used for everything since she was 14, her childhood dog's name and her birth year, to get into her iCloud. Suddenly, I had access to everything. Her messages with Julian and Diana. Their group chat, aptly named The Triad. I read it all. The initial planning, weeks before the corrupted portfolio, lie. Julian's messages. Your dad is a cash cow, Chloe. A boring, sentimental cash cow. He'll never suspect a thing. Diana's response. The villa does look exquisite. It's a shame he'd never appreciate the finer wines there. This is better. We'll have a much more sophisticated time. And my daughter. My own flesh and blood. Her message. I know. He's so pathetic. Working himself to death for a trip he doesn't even deserve. This way, the money actually goes to people who can enjoy it properly. Each word was a nail. But I collected them. I took screenshots. I downloaded photo albums. I synced my devices to capture every new picture and message they sent from my vacation. I saw the receipts pop up in a shared email folder Chloe had foolishly given me access to for emergencies. They were spending my money with reckless abandon. $500 dinners. Helicopter tours. Julian buying a ridiculously expensive watch at a resort boutique. I had it all. My job provided the tools. I had access to high-quality audio and video equipment for documenting construction sites. I had software for creating detailed schematics and presentations. And most importantly, I had a reputation for being meticulous, honest, and utterly dependable. The last person anyone would suspect of orchestrating a complex act of vengeance. The plan took shape. The corrupted portfolio was their lie. It would become my weapon. I found out the date and time of her actual portfolio review. It was a public event at her university's art department. A critique open to faculty and students. It was in 3 weeks. That would be my detonation day. I needed an audience. I needed to make the humiliation as public and inescapable as their crime. I crafted a guest list. Not only her professors and peers, but Julian's business associates. I pulled them from his LinkedIn. I found his parents' address in Connecticut. And I found Diana's entire social circle from the gallery, including a wealthy donor she'd been desperately trying to impress. I created a beautiful, professional-looking digital invitation. It featured one of Chloe's own artworks. The text read, "You are cordially invited to a special unveiling and portfolio defense. Chloe Finch presents her most ambitious project to date, The Benefactor. A multimedia exploration of patronage, sacrifice, and modern relationships. Your presence is requested to witness a groundbreaking new talent." It was all true. They just didn't know what the project was really about. I rented the small auditorium next to the actual critique room. I told the university it was for a private industry presentation related to my engineering firm. I set up my equipment, a high-lumen projector, a massive screen, and a powerful sound system. The final piece was the presentation itself. I didn't create a crass, angry slideshow. I was an artist, and my medium was their betrayal. I edited their photos, their messages, their receipts, into a narrative. It started with my own photos, me and Chloe as a child, the Hawaii savings plan spreadsheet I'd kept for years. Then, it seamlessly transitioned into their messages planning the deception. I used a calm, documentary-style voiceover, written and recorded by me, explaining the project. I showed their lavish vacation photos, with pop-up text boxes detailing the cost of each item, superimposed over the original, heartbreaking message from Chloe about her corrupted portfolio. I timed it all to a soaring, dramatic piece of music that slowly twisted into something sinister. The trap was set. The charges were placed. All that was left was to lure them in. I sent Chloe a text the day before her review. "Me, good luck tomorrow, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. I know you'll be brilliant. I'll be thinking of you all day. I love you." She replied a few hours later. "Chloe, thanks Dad. Love you too. It's going to be great. Talk soon." The irony was so thick I could taste it. It tasted like ashes. The day of the portfolio defense arrived. I wore my best suit. I looked like what I was, a successful, respectable man. I arrived at the university an hour early. My rented auditorium was already half full. I saw Julian's parents, looking confused but proud. I saw his smarmy colleagues. I saw Diana's gallery friends, sipping cheap wine. And in the front row, beaming, were the three of them. Chloe, looking nervous but excited. Julian, with his arm possessively around her. Diana, elegant and smiling at me from across the room. She gave me a little, surprised wave. I gave a polite, neutral nod. At exactly 3 p.m., the hour her real critique was beginning next door, I walked onto the stage. The room hushed. "Thank you all for coming," I said into the microphone, my voice steady and warm. "My name is Arthur Finch. Many of you know me as Chloe's father. Today, you're here to witness my daughter's work. But this isn't just her project. It's ours. It's a story about trust, about family, and about the true cost of paradise." I saw Chloe's smile falter. Julian leaned over and whispered something to her. Diana's smile was fixed, but her eyes were narrowed. "This presentation," I continued, "is called The Benefactor. Or, as I've come to think of it, Hawaii is cancelled. Let's begin." I pressed a button on the remote in my pocket. The screen behind me went black, and then the first image appeared, the handmade booklet I'd given Chloe, open to the page showing the first-class tickets. My recorded voiceover began, soft and nostalgic. "For 4 years and 17 days, I saved for a dream. Not my dream, but a dream I shared with my daughter. A dream named Hawaii." The presentation unfolded exactly as I'd planned. The crowd was initially charmed. They saw the pictures of a young Chloe and me. They saw the spreadsheet, the numbers adding up, sacrifice after sacrifice. I saw Julian's parents nodding appreciatively. Then, the tone shifted. The screen split. On one side, the text message from Chloe. "My portfolio, it's been corrupted. Hawaii is cancelled. On the other side, a screenshot from their triad group chat from the same day. Julian. She sold it. The old man bought it hook, line, and sinker. Aloha, baby. A wave of gasps rippled through the audience. Chloe shot to her feet. Dad! What are you doing? Turn it off. But it was too late. The machine was in motion. The photos from Hawaii began to flash across the screen in a devastating rhythm. Chloe and Julian on the catamaran. Pop-up text. Private catamaran tour. $2,400. Paid for by the benefactor. Diana sipping a cocktail. Pop-up text. Dom Perignon, $350. Paid for by the benefactor. Julian's new watch. Pop-up text. Audemars Piguet, $18,750. Paid for by the benefactor. I had wired the audio from their own videos, their laughter, their toast, to the sucker back home. Julian saying, I told you, Chloe, your dad is an easy mark. The chaos was absolute. Julian's colleagues were laughing, but not with him, at him. His mother had her hand over her mouth. His father's face was purple with rage. Diana's gallery donor stood up and walked out, shooting Diana a look of pure disgust. Diana herself looked like a statue, her face a frozen mask of horror. Julian lunged for the stage. You crazy old man! I'll sue you! But I was ready. I switched the microphone back on, my voice cutting through the din like a knife. Sue me for what, Julian? For showing the truth? The receipts are all there. The money was from my account, for a trip with my daughter. You are, at best, a thief. And you... I turned my gaze to Chloe. She was sobbing, collapsed in her seat. You were my daughter. I built my life for you. And you helped them tear it down for a watch and a suntan. I looked at Diana. And you. I thought you were a port in a storm. You were just the one steering me into the rocks. I turned off the presentation. The screen went dark. The silence in the room was heavier than any noise. The unveiling is over, I said quietly, and I walked off the stage. I didn't look back. I walked out of the auditorium, through the stunned crowd, and out into the clean, cold afternoon air. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I felt empty. But it was a clean emptiness. The rubble had been cleared. The site was ready for something new. The aftermath was satisfyingly brutal. The consequences were structural, just as I'd planned. Julian was finished. The public humiliation, coupled with the evidence of his character, saw his investors pull out overnight. His venture capital firm collapsed. I heard through the grapevine that his own father disowned him. The lawsuit he threatened never materialized. His lawyer probably told him a court case would just air the dirty laundry all over again. Diana was let go from the gallery. The scandal was too great. The art world is a small, judgmental place. Her social circle evaporated. The last I heard, she moved to another state, but elegance can't wash off the stink of treachery. And Chloe. She tried to call. Dozens of times. She sent emails, long, rambling letters full of apologies and justifications. I read the first one. It was all about her, her stress, her feeling that I was suffocating her, how Julian and Diana had manipulated her. There was no true understanding of the depth of her betrayal. There was no acknowledgement that she had broken the one heart that had always been unconditionally hers. I changed my number. I sold the house in Oak Creek, too many ghosts. I took the money from the cancelled Hawaii trip, what was left of it, and I did something for myself. I went to Sicily. I ate food I couldn't pronounce, I swam in waters that once terrified me, and I sat in the sun, alone, and I began to heal. I learned a lesson far more valuable than any engineering principle. Trust is the most critical load-bearing wall in the structure of a life. When it's compromised, the entire edifice can come down. But I also learned that I am a better engineer than I knew. I can not only build, I can demolish. And from the rubble, I can build again, stronger, and for myself. The new high-rise downtown is nearly complete. They're calling it a marvel of modern engineering. Incredibly stable. They asked me to speak at the dedication ceremony. I think I will. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts about new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.